All right. So wholesaling, flipping, or buy and hold, which strategy is best for you? And honestly, it depends on where you are in your real estate investment journey. It depends on that. And so we'll go through all of these things. My number one goal for you tonight is to choose a strategy. Choose what's best for you. I'm going to go over them. And for some of you guys, you might say, I want to start off wholesaling to generate some cash to then buy and hold. I do want to tell you guys that ultimately, my goal for you is to buy and hold one property this year. That's my goal for you is to buy and hold at least one property. Wherever that property is, we find properties in in Baltimore. We find properties in DC, Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, all over. We can help you find that property. And so when I get to buy and hold, I'll talk a little more about what you need to do personally to be prepared for that buy and hold. But no matter what strategy you choose, fix and flip, wholesaling, ultimately, my goal for you is to buy and hold at least one property for long-term wealth. All right, so for those that don't know me, and most of you guys do know me, I've been investing. I hate to say it because I'm going to age myself, but I've been doing it for over 30 years. I I bought my first property a year out of college. When I was 17, though, I read an encyclopedia. I read this right here. 90% of all millionaires become so through owning real estate. Andrew Carnegie. And I read that the summer before my senior year of high school, and it just stuck with me. And at that point, 17 years old, it was like an epiphany moment for me. I said, I'm going to get into real estate one day and I'm going to be wealthy, just like, the rest of these families. And so, to make a long story short, I did get into real estate. I bought my first property a year out of college, and I've done extremely well. I read in the Washington Post that there was a property for sale. It was a condo in DuPont Circle. I was living in DC in Adams Morgan. There was a condo for sale. I just read this chapter. This gentleman by the name of Carlton Sheets was selling information, real estate investment information, infomercials. He was doing infomercials, and I sent away for his information. I'm like 21, 22 years old, sent away for his information. And I read that stuff from cover to cover, listened to the tapes. There's a chapter on creative financing. I went down to DuPont Circle. I made them an offer of seller financing and they took it, and I was on my way. Bought that property, rented it out, seller financing. My goal at that time was to buy one property a year, buy and hold, and I did that for about 5 years in a row. And then I said, I was working with real estate agents. They were moving a little too slow for me. So I decided to go ahead and get my real estate license. And so I got my real estate license, really no intentions on selling. But then I started selling and I did very, very well, built a big team. Eventually bought a real estate franchise. I have a pretty big brokerage now. And so I have a real estate brokerage, but we invest and we look at properties every single day. Every single day, we've got our virtual assistants calling motivated sellers. I've got both paid ads and organic ads going on social media. And so we do a lot of PPC, we do pay per click. And so we have a pretty robust investment business along with coaching. And I see that some of my coaching students are on here now. And so my passion, my ministry is to help other people build wealth through real estate investing. And my hope for tonight is that there's something that you learn tonight, something that I say resonates with you, and it helps you motivate, and it helps motivate you to buying that next property or buying that first property or starting to invest in real estate. This is a tough economy, you guys, for many different reasons. Some of you guys are struggling financially, unfortunately, living paycheck to paycheck. And, to be fair, I've found myself over the years, especially during the recession, struggling. And I will tell you guys that it was real estate investing, wholesaling real estate, flipping real estate that got me out of that, financial rut. Because when the recession hit in 2007, 2008, the real estate industry was decimated. And I like to tell people my income was cut in half, but it was more than cut in half. I had about 13 properties at that time. I had the real estate brokerage, and nobody was buying houses because you couldn't get financed. And so it was tough. But what I started doing, I had done it before, but what I really started doing back then was flipping properties. And so I started to flip properties, and that really supplemented, my income. And then pretty soon the market actually came back. But it ebbs and flows. I mean, we're in a down market now, to be honest with you. We feel like we're moving in the right direction. Interest rates are steadily going down, and hopefully they'll continue to go down for us as real estate investors. But I will tell you that there's no market really that's a bad market for investing. There's always opportunity out here. And the question is, are you going to be an opportunist? Are you going to put yourself in a position to be an opportunist? And are you going to take the plunge? Are you going to, look at real estate as a viable option to build wealth? When my daughter, one last story, when my daughter was going to college, it was my goal um, to have her not have any student loans. And it was real estate. I would earmark a wholesale deal, I would earmark a flip prior to the upcoming semester, and I would pay off her tuition so that by the time she graduated, she didn't have any student loans. Real, real estate investing, real estate investing has been the pathway for me, and it can be the pathway for you. But I don't want you guys to struggle. And so you've got to choose something that's going to help you not struggle financially. We're living paycheck to paycheck. We shouldn't be doing that. And so I do want you guys, my goal for tonight is for you to choose a strategy. Also, I want you guys to have a goal and start thinking about what's your ultimate goal that's going to help you in retirement. Is it $10,000 a month in passive income from real estate? Is it $20,000 a month passive income from real estate, buy and hold, whatever it is? Start thinking about that as we move along. All right. So the first strategy, well, let's go over all the strategies. So the strategies are we're going to talk about wholesaling. We wholesale for quick profits through assigning property contracts. So wholesaling, we're not buying properties. We're finding the opportunities, and then we're assigning the contracts. Flipping is we're going to renovate or sell for a higher price. So we're going to find a property below market, and then we're going to renovate the property, and then we're going to sell. Wholesaling and flipping properties, it's what's called our buy for cash strategy. So in the real estate industry, there's two strategies. There's only two strategies in the real estate industry. It's buy for cash, meaning we're going to invest and we're going to get quick cash back. That's wholesaling and flipping properties. Wholesaling and flipping properties for quick cash. Um, Buy for cash is not passive income, it's active income. We're going to wholesale a property or we're going to flip a property, and we have one payday on that property. Now we move on to another property. The other strategy is buy for cash flow and appreciation. That's your buy and hold strategy. We utilize the buy and hold strategy for long-term wealth to retire financially free. Um, that's our passive income strategy. We buy a house one time and we get paid over and over and over again through renting the property out and and getting that cash flow. That's our passive income. And that property can be passed to your children, your children's children, putting that property in a trust, and it can move on from generation to generation. That's our buy and hold. Now, sometimes we combine the strategies to buy and hold. So we'll use our wholesaling strategy or our flipping to get the cash to then buy and hold. What I see in the industry is investors who are wholesaling and flipping properties, they're taking that money and they put it in their pocket instead of reinvesting into buy and hold strategies. I'll talk about Marquise in a minute, but he's one of our investors. He's part of our community. That all he's done probably over the last 20 years is he's either sold real estate, he has a real estate license, so he takes his commissions, he takes his wholesale fees. He lives in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, but then he goes down to Baltimore and pays cash for properties. And it's rinse and repeat. He just keeps doing that. Wholesale property, go and buy and hold. He's starting to finance them now because they're not as cheap as they were. But that's a good strategy too, combining strategies. But you've got to be disciplined as a real estate investor, and you can't. And this is what I see. I see investors even on a buy and hold strategy. I was telling my investors the other night that, or probably last week, that even buy and holding, let's say you're making 500, you're making $1,000 a month in positive cash flow every single month. You've got to save that money. Save that money. Maybe pay yourself every quarter, every 6 months, but save that money and either reinvest that money or use that money to pay for like maintenance, things like that. And so these are your two bigger strategies are buy for cash, that's wholesaling, flipping, and buying for cash flow, equity and appreciation. That's your buy and hold strategy. All right, let's talk about wholesaling. I know a lot of you guys on here want to wholesale. Who wants to wholesale? Put in the chat, put a one in the chat if you're interested in wholesaling. Who wants to wholesale? Anybody on here? Put a one in the chat if you're interested in wholesaling. So, Valerie, are you the only one? Okay, Bill wants to wholesale. Oh, a lot of you guys are want to wholesale. Um, a lot of my coaching students want to wholesale. Jason, Tanisha. Okay. All right, so we've got some Angela. We- Nat, what's up, Nat? Haven't talked to you in a while. Hattie. I want to learn more about it. Okay. And so let me just touch on it just for tonight is not going to be enough, but basically wholesaling, you guys, we're using two contracts. What I call your A to B and B to C contracts. And so with the A to B contract, we're talking to a motivated seller and we're putting them under contract. They're the A, the seller, and you're the B, the buyer slash wholesaler, the A to B. So we're finding a property, we're putting it under contract. Then, using the Mayo formula, and I'm going to go over the formula in a second, we use the B to C contract. You're the B, and then the C is the cash buyer. Let's say I'm the cash buyer. You find a contract, I mean, you find a property, put them under contract using the purchase and sales agreement, the A to B, and then you use an assignment agreement, that's the B to C contract, to assign the contract to a cash buyer, somebody like me. That's wholesaling. Wholesaling, you are not buying the property, you're just putting the property under contract, and then you're assigning that contract to a cash buyer. Now,
Can,
now,
uh, excuse me, Greg. Can you run that down one more time, please?
Okay, so as a wholesaler, there's two contracts. And so if you guys are taking notes, write this down. Two contracts, A to B contract, that's your purchase and sales agreement. That's between you and the motivated seller. And then there's the B to C contract, that's your assignment agreement. You're going to assign the contract to a cash buyer. Now we have all the contracts. I have what's called an investor toolkit where we can, if you join our community, um, you'll have all the documentation. So we have all the contracts vetted by, my attorney. But there's two contracts as a wholesaler, and you've got to learn the contracts, you guys, because you could find a property tomorrow. You've got to know how to put that motivated seller under contract. You might be in church on Sunday, and somebody might say, um, Sister Paula needs to sell her property. What are you going to do? You need to be able to put her under contract. So you've got to learn the contracts, and we teach you. We teach you how to do it. I've got videos and all that on writing contracts. So that's wholesaling really in a nutshell. Two contracts, A to B, purchase and sales agreement, and then you're going to assign that contract on an assignment agreement. Wholesalers in our area are making 10,000, 15,000, on average about $20,000 per deal. On average, we do have some wholesalers that make more than that, $30,000. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me tonight. Uh, how are these properties located? The ones that are,
You
how,
said
how,
you said
how,
where?
how do you locate the properties
Oh,
for
how do you
wholesaling?
locate it?
How are they identified?
I'm going to touch on that a little bit, but it's really not that difficult. We have lists that we use to find motivated sellers. One of my favorite lists is out of state absentee owner. An absentee owner is one that owns the property but doesn't live there. They're probably renting the property out. And so there's lists that you can get. One company, you guys write this down, that Alex uses is propwire.com. That's a free site that you can pull lists from. You can choose your zip code or geographical location and put in different filters. And so that's one way of finding these motivated sellers. Another way is we find them at the auctions, the different types of auctions. Almost there's an auction almost on a daily basis. But what we do as investors is we try to find motivated sellers. And there's many different ways. I'll touch on that in a minute. I think I have a slide. I have a slide on that. Keith, do me a favor. Put propwire.com in the chat. Propwire.com.
Okay.
All right, wholesaling, it involves finding undervalued properties and assigning the contract to another investor. Requires little to no capital. So we're putting up little to no money. Now that's a misnomer. Many people will tell you that you don't need any money to wholesale. I will tell you that you need some money for marketing. The top wholesalers are spending money on marketing, but you're not putting like a down payment or anything like that. Nobody's looking at your credit, so it doesn't matter what your credit score is, um, as far as being a wholesaler. And then wholesaling, it's fast cash, but limited scalability and equity buildup. So there's no equity because you're not owning the property, so you're not building up any equity. It is fast cash. Wholesaling, we close, I'll say sometimes 2 weeks, 2 weeks to a month, we generally close our deals. 2 weeks to a month, we generally close our wholesale deals. Now listen to this, you guys. I'm going to talk about wholesaling, fix and flip, buy and hold. I may touch on some creative financing, um, uh, those things tonight. I will tell you that in my opinion, wholesaling is the toughest strategy to perfect. It's hard. It's not easy. Wholesaling is difficult. because you've got to market. The only way you're going to make money is you've got to be a great marketer. You've got to find these deals. You got to find them. That's the only way you're going to make money is finding deals. You've got to have a marketing strategy. And if you're not willing to market almost on a daily basis, cold calling, postcards, driving for dollars, monitoring the um, the auctions, going to the auctions, if you're not willing to do those things, getting the word out, social media, branding yourself, if you're not willing to do those things, you're not going to find deals. There are deals. You guys are looking, driving past deals every single day. You just don't know it. And so you've got to take action and you've got to be a marketer. They call us wholesalers, but they should call us marketers or real estate investment marketers because you've got to generate the leads. We have some people, and some of our coaching students are on here. They go to the MLS, the multiple listing service, and find deals. And so there's a number of different ways of finding deals, but you've got to be consistent with it. And most investors are not. Most wholesalers are not. And that's why, you see a lot of wholesalers burning out. But there are wholesalers across the country. Some are doing 10 deals a month, 20 deals a month because they have a full-blown system. They write this word down. They have a follow-up system. We like to say that the fortune is in the follow-up. I say that so much, I hate saying it. But the fortune is in the follow-up. And so you've got to follow up. If you call a motivated seller today, and I probably called about five of them today. I actually got two appointments. The other ones, I've got to follow up and I've got to put them in a system. And so I have a system in my CRM that we put them in our system, and our system is automated. So they automatically text them as a follow up, email them as a follow up. And I even have a chat bot that follows up. Alex, would you like to know what my chat bot's name is? Would you like to know that?
Yes, I'm burning to know. Don't you don't you yeah, I would absolutely
It's
love to
not.
know. I
It's
have
not.
some thoughts though,
It's
but
not
I'm
popcorn.
just burning. Can't you see the burning? I'm just burning to
It's not popcorn or Alex. His name is actually Ben.
know. Ben. That's a good one.
And so Ben will follow up with you. And so I have a full-blown system for follow-up. And because I have that text message an hour after we put them in the system, email the next day, text message the next day. Ben will actually call the day after. Like we keep going. And I can show you guys my follow-up system, which is completely automated. It's in my CRM. And so those are some of the things that you've got to do um, to be a successful wholesaler. Those are kind of honestly some of the basics, but I will tell you that you can make some quick money wholesaling properties, and a lot of people do, but then they'll do a deal and they'll make 20,000, 30,000, whatever it is, and then they kind of stop doing it because they stop putting in the work. And so I want you guys to know that wholesaling is not easy. It's work. But if you put in the work, you can make a lot of money quickly. There's wholesalers that make six figures every single month, and they don't even do it full time. All right. So along with wholesaling, I'm going to do this real quick. Um, we have as real estate investors formulas and math that goes along with what we do. We just don't find a property and say this is the offer we're going to make. And so as a wholesaler, our offer is we find the after repair value, we find the ARV, the after repair value, and then we multiply that by 65%. So we take 65% of the after repair value minus repair costs, and that gives us our MAO, our maximum allowable offer that we're to make to the motivated seller. So the key is finding the after repair value. Where do you find that? A real estate agent can run comps and give it to you. You can get the after repair value off of Redfin, Zillow. Um, there's a number of different prop stream. Yeah, prop stream will give you ARV. And some of my coaching students on here, they could probably tell us a few others that will give you ARV whether you're a real estate agent or not. And so you find the ARV. So let's just say the ARV is 300,000. Once the house is completely renovated, it's worth 300,000. You're going to multiply that 300 by 65%, which in this case equals 195. You're going to subtract that by the repair costs, and let's just call the repair cost $60,000, which equals 135. 135 is the maximum allowable offer that we're to make to the motivated seller. Our number is 135. And so if ARV is 300, we're going to offer about 135. If we're able to put them on the contract under the A to B contract, now we market that opportunity to cash buyers. I'm a cash buyer. There's a number of cash buyers on this Zoom tonight. And we run the same formula, but this time we use 70%. And so a cash buyer will buy all day long. I will buy all day long at 70%. So we take 70% of the 300,000, which is 210,000, minus the same repair cost of 60. I will buy this property for 150. Now, if I'm able to buy that property for 150, we use the assignment agreement. The assignment agreement is going to say, I agree to buy the property for 135 and give you, the wholesaler, a $15,000 wholesale fee. And I'm going to take over all the rights and responsibilities of the A to B contract. That's wholesaling right there. And so your wholesale fee in this case is 15,000 or 5% of the after repair value. So in essence, your wholesale fee should be somewhere around 5% of the after repair value. So to give yourself a raise, all you need to do is go into higher priced neighborhoods. Let's say you go to Petworth and the properties are selling for 800,000. And so you just do 800,000 times the 5%. You just made yourself, is that 40,000, $40,000 wholesale fee, and so on and so forth. You just do the math. And so this is wholesaling right here, you guys.
So,
Pros and cons,
Greg,
yes.
hey, so you are saying that we should have our we should be open to looking at properties that aren't necessarily broken down properties, but rather high dollar value.
I'm not saying that, no.
But
And
when you
so
say Petworth and you're saying $800,000, that's different from saying Landover, that's 150,000.
I would rather you look in Landover only because you're going to find more cash buyers that are willing to buy a $350,000 ARV after repair value or $400,000 ARV versus, so the more expensive the property is, the less cash buyers you have. And so I would rather you and there's there's more motivated sellers in Landover than there is in Petworth. So I would rather you, nothing wrong with looking in Petworth, Shepherd Park, Brightwood, 16th Street Heights, all up there. Nothing wrong with that. Those people need to sell too. All I'm saying is there's less cash buyers buying in those neighborhoods. So you'll have more luck. Like I own properties in Landover because Dana found a property and wholesaled it to me. And that was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, 4 years ago. And I still have that. I'm still renting that property out, Section 8. And so that's all I mean. But what I was really saying is you're going to make more money in a higher price because if we take 5% of ARV, the higher price areas, you're going to make more money, but maybe you won't because for every one property in, let's say, Petworth that you find in wholesale, you might be able to wholesale two or three in an area like Landover. Does that make sense to you?
Beautiful. Thank you.
I gave that answer my all, Valerie. All
Thank you, Greg.
right. Pros for wholesaling, minimal capital. So you need little to no money, but I do want you to spend some money on marketing, fast returns, no need to manage the property. So you're not, as a wholesaler, you're not managing properties, you're not managing contractors, you're not doing any of those things. But it is a competitive market, reliant reliant on finding good deals. So you've got to find the deals. You've got to do the marketing. Um, there are more wholesalers than there are flippers, than there are buy and hold investors. But if you do everything that I teach you to do, you'll be among the top wholesalers because I'm going to teach you how to market. I teach how to market, how to follow up, how to negotiate, how to write contracts. And most wholesalers don't do that. Most wholesalers actually wholesale other wholesalers' deals. And by the time it gets to you, it's not a deal. And so I want you to be the contract holder, which means you've got to go out and find the deals. And so I can help you with that. I can help you find the deals. That's the key to your success is the marketing. You've got to market. But can you wholesale like within the next 30 days? Absolutely. You absolutely can. But you've got to market consistently and you've got to know, you guys, that it's a numbers game. And so it's a numbers game. And you guys have heard that before. And so in real estate investing, we call it your KPIs, your key performance indicators, your KPIs. And so you've got to know we just can't market just to market. We've got to have some data. And so we've got to know, like if we're doing postcards, which is a great way to find deals. We go to a place like PropWire, PropStream, a place to find lists of motivated sellers. And then on PropWire, you can actually download free. All this is free, the list, and you can mail out postcards. Everything I just mentioned, well, except for the postcards, the list itself is free. The list itself is free. And so these are your key performance indicators. You've got to know the numbers. And so for every 250, I'm sorry, 2,500 pieces that you mail out, you should get a response rate of about 1%. That's 25 responses. Out of those 25 responses, it should generate about 10 leads. Out of those 10 leads, people have kind of raised their hand. You should go on 6 appointments. Out of the 6 appointments that you actually go on, you make 5 offers. Out of those 5 offers, you get, and depending on how good you are in terms of negotiating and selling, your numbers could be better than this, but you get 1 to 2 contracts signed, and then you close one deal. So out of 2,500 pieces mailed out, you should be closing at least one deal. These are your KPIs for direct mail. And so if you ask me, how do I find properties? One way is to do direct mail and consistent with it. I like to use the jumbo cards, the jumbo postcards, because they don't get lost in the mail. So my cards that I use are a little bigger. And this response rate is correct. It's 1%. 1%, 1%, 1%. And so you just do the math. Let's say that you're wholesaling and you're going to make, let's just use 15,000. 15,000 in the KPIs that I have on the screen, let's just say you're wholesaling, you're going to make $15,000 on that one deal. I got my calculator out. The 2,500 pieces, 2,500 should cost probably about 60 cents, which is 1,500. So the question is, would you spend $1,500 for this marketing campaign, 1,500 to make 15,000? Now, if you're flipping a property, would you spend 1,500 to make between 80 and $100,000? Now, if you're buying and holding, would you spend 1,500 to buy a property that's going to give you six, seven, $800 a month cash flow and 50 to $100,000 in equity? And so the answer to all three of those questions is yes. Now, if you don't have the 1,500, and I know some of you guys don't, then you don't send out these many pieces. You send out a little less, and then you get better at negotiation. You guys with me? And so we do have a lot of investors that actually call. They make cold calls. Or what we do in our office is we have cold callers out of the Philippines that make calls for us. So they're dialing every day. They use a dialer. And so we have a dialer that dials for them. And so we upload a big list for them and it dials. And as soon as somebody answers, they pick up the phone. And not a day goes by that they don't schedule at least one or two appointments. And so the KPIs are we need to have 4,000 dials a month. So let's break that down. And so 4,000 dials a month is 1,000 dials a week. You guys with me? Is 200, if we're using 5 days a week, is 200 dials a day. 200 dials a day. And so either you dial or use a dialer. Keith, can you tell us how many dials are we making a day? Now, to get these numbers, you need about 200 a day. Using a dialer, what are they doing?
Well, actually, Greg, our since we're using call tools, we're getting like 1,000 dials in a day.
Okay. So we have a dialer that what's called tools. It can dial what 11, 12 dials at
It's
a
got
time.
11 dialers. Yeah.
So it can make 11 calls at a time. If you want to use a dialer, I would go with Mojo because Mojo dialer can dial up to makes 3 dials at a time. And you'll have a voice message. And those that don't answer, your voice message will automatically leave them a message, and then it'll dial the next person.
And yeah, you're right, Greg. Call and Mojo, you're getting on a dialer in about 2 hours or so. You're able to get 250 to 300 dials in.
Okay. And so making 4,000 dials a month looks intimidating, but if you use a dialer, you could probably double or triple that number. And so these are the KPIs, the key performance indicators. If you can get up to 4,000 dials, which seems like a lot, but it's really not. Manually, if you're doing 200 dials a day, now keep in mind, out of the 200, you're probably only going to make contact with, out of the 200, I'm trying to do some quick math. Let's see. So
200
that
dials, you're going to get, or if you're using Mojo, you're going to get probably somewhere between 15 and 20 uh, contacts.
contacts a day. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because you're going to dial and either they might be a bad number or they're not going to answer, those kinds of things. And so let's take it on a monthly basis. 4,000 dials. You're going to get in contact with 600 people. 40 of them will be leads. You're going to be able to set up 16 appointments. You're going to make 13 offers, 2 sign, 1 closing. This whole program, so our dialers, we pay them, I'll just say $10 an hour I think one guy dials for 5 hours a day. So we're paying him $50. We're paying him $50 a day. Um, 250, if my math's right. We pay him $250 a week and about 1,000. We pay him about $1,000 a month, if my math's right. Plus we plus the dialer, which is I think a little over $100. Our lists are free. And so we actually spend less money on the dialing than we do on the postcards. But we do both. And so these are your KPIs. So see, this is guys is a numbers game. And then dealing with better lists, I like pre-foreclosure lists, out of state, absentee owners, and then there's other lists. Some investors like homeowners that have at least 50% equity, 100% equity. There's all kinds of different lists that you can pull. What happens to? Okay, so Bill asked a great question. So Bill is asking what happens to one of the two contracts that are signed. I thought signing a contract is closing a deal. And so Bill doesn't always mean that. Different reasons why contracts fall apart. Could be a title issue. Maybe the buyer can't get financed. There's a bunch of different. Now, hopefully, signing these two, um, to be honest, a high percentage of them do close. But I'm just preparing you for the worst because for whatever reason, deals fall apart. They just fall apart for whatever reason. But that was a great question. And so you guys, so I didn't do KPIs for all the different type of marketing. You can do that. You can actually go to Chat GPT and say, give me the KPIs. I'm a real estate investor. Give me the KPIs for bidding on properties at the auction. How many properties do I have to bid on until I find one? And it's about 10 to 15, things like that. But again, wholesaling, it's work, and you've got to know your numbers. But as long as you know your numbers and stick to these numbers, you can close one deal a month. And then once you start making money, you put money back into the business to do even more marketing. What we're trying, our goal in our office is to do about 10 deals a month. That's our goal, is to do 10 a month, averaging somewhere between 15 and $20,000 per deal, and that's just on wholesaling. All right, so this is Amanda. She's been one of our investors for many, many years. She started off doing bandit signs, and so once she started wholesaling with us, she did some hot pink bandit signs, put them up. Long story short, a lady wrote down her name and number, called Amanda, said, I need to sell my property. This was like less than 30 days. All this happened in less than 30 days. And Amanda actually gave me a call, and I helped her write the contract, looked at the property. She went on vacation, closed the deal. We wired $35,000 to her. Now, she was working retail at the time, single parent with a daughter, and she just wanted to make that $100,000, make up to $100,000. And long story short, she quit her job, and now she's full time in real estate investing. And if she can do it, you guys, as a wholesaler, you guys can do it too. She's gone on to wholesale more properties, buy and hold properties. She's a full-time investor. She started off retail, and then she got her first deal. She got her first taste. And then there you go. This is Dana. A lot of you guys know Dana. This is one of the properties that Dana wholesaled. He put this property under contract. Dana does driving for dollars. That's how he finds his properties. He's the one that actually found the property in Landover and wholesaled it to me. But this is one where he put it under contract, made $30,000 on his second wholesale deal, which was like 2 weeks after the first one. He made $42,000 on his second wholesale deal, and he has a job where he actually does HVAC and plumbing. And so while he's going from job to job, he's driving past properties. If they look to be vacant or abandoned, he'll write the addresses down. At the end of his day, he'll skip trace to get the phone numbers, and he's just calling. He's skip tracing almost on a daily basis. So he's got his eye on houses that look to be vacant and abandoned. And so he wholesaled that property, another property. We went on a house tour, and we're going on a house tour at the end of this month, but we took him on a house tour along with many other investors. And one of the properties we looked at was a foreclosure that the following Tuesday he had to bid on. Long story short, Dana bid on the property. This was about 3 years ago, and he won the bid from a house tour. And he won the bid. He got it financed, and he's renting it out, and he still has that property. And he's bought Dana. Dana's not on here, I don't think, but he's bought in the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years. I think he's got about 3 or 4 buy and holds that he purchased. He's always wholesaling properties. You guys, if Dana can do it, and all he did was just take action. He'd come to meetings like this. He joined our coaching program. We go out in the field and just ask a lot of questions, learn the business. Now he's on his way. His goal is to retire himself and do real estate investing full time. All right, let's talk flipping. What is house flipping? Buying properties, improving them, and selling for a profit. Requires capital, time, and project management skills. Profits from resale can be substantial, but come with a risk. And so, flipping properties is your second buy for cash strategy. I like to say it's high risk but high reward. Um, you've got to get those properties financed. A lot of our investors use what we call a hard money lender to purchase the property, or a private lender to purchase the property. And then so they get them financed. They use the same formula, but they use 70%. So they're buying at 70% of the after repair value minus repair costs. Um, Flipping, you guys, I highly recommend, if you're interested in flipping and you haven't flipped before, I highly recommend partnering with someone that has the experience. Because as much as flipping, you're going to make, I'll say on average, about $100,000 flipping a property. Some make more. I've got some people that are a part of my community and part of my brokerage. They won't touch a property unless they can make $1 million. So they're buying 4 million, putting, 400,000 or 500,000 into the property and selling for 3 and 4 million. Bethesda, Potomac, way up Northwest DC. That's where they buy. That's their buy box. And they're doing a good job. I ran into my buddy Nate yesterday morning, early in the morning, like 6:30 in the morning at the Safeway. We both were coming from the gym, and he just closed on one where he made over $1 million flipping a property. And so he does luxury flips. I wouldn't start there, but I would start, if I was flipping and starting all over. I would start with a cosmetic flip where you're not adding any kind of square footage. You're just doing like cosmetics, like paint, flooring, kitchen, bathroom, maybe roof, maybe windows, that kind of thing. You're not adding any kind of square footage. Very little to no permits pulled, very little to no inspections. You don't want to lose money. Um, new flippers on average, the majority of the time they lose money on flipping. And so I don't spend a lot of time talking about flipping. I know a lot of you guys want to flip. I flipped my whole career, and here and there I will flip, especially if it's a great deal. But it does come with high risk. It does come with high risk, and there's certain challenges. One of the challenges is contractors, and so you've got to have the right contractors. You got to vet those contractors, and you really have to know what you're doing. But I would highly recommend doing it with someone, or at least hiring a consultant if you're going to flip the property. But those of you that want to flip, anybody here want to flip? Put a two in the chat. Anybody want to flip? Any brave soul want to flip and make $100,000? Okay, Roger's a brave soul. John's a brave soul. You guys can do it. I would start off like I started off. So I started off flipping with a partner. I got really good as a young investor finding deals. I said, I'm going to find deals. I only have enough money to buy one property a year, and that's a buy and hold, but I'm going to find the deals and then partner with someone that has experience flipping. And so that's what I did. I found them. I wasn't wholesaling when I first got started. I was flipping, and me and a gentleman by the name of Thurman Battle, some of you guys know him, we flipped properties together until I learned. I got about, I don't know, 5 or 6 flips under my belt. And I said, I can do this. So then I started doing them on my own. And so, and you guys can too, but I don't want you guys losing money because here's what happens. Investors start flipping money, flipping properties. They may lose money and then they get out the business altogether. And then there's the whole, and my coaching students know there's a whole thing about making sure that you don't give the contractor more money than the work that they've done. And so you want to make sure it's even, or you want to stay ahead of them. They've done more work than the money you've given them. And so you just want to be careful when it comes to flipping. But if you want to flip, I'm more than happy to help you flip. We've had a lot of successful investors in our program that have flipped properties. Pros and cons. The pros are there's high potential for profits, less commitment to long-term management. So you're only managing, you guys, I'll say up to a year, but you're only about 6 months. Generally about 6 months, you're in and out. The cons are high upfront cost. So you've got to put, generally speaking, about 10% down. There are market fluctuations. And so oftentimes we'll be in a good market where property values are appreciating. Because it takes 6 months to a year sometimes on a flip, the market can fluctuate. So where you thought when you bought the property, the ARV was 500,000, by the time you finished, we could be, and a lot of investors got caught up in 2022 and still trying to sell properties. The market changes and property values go down. And so you can get caught up in market fluctuations. Renovation costs can spiral. And so you could get into a property and there's change orders. Michael Kalani, can you speak to change orders and renovation costs going haywire?
Greg, before we go there, I want to piggyback on what you're saying right now. You know where I just sold that property at the beginning of December over in Southeast? Some guys that started one down at the bottom of the street right on H. And I went in there. They had to put about 100 grand in there. I looked it up to see how much they paid for it. They paid something like 289 for it. They put 100 into it. They had priced it at 450. Then about 3 weeks later, it came down to 440. It stayed at 440. I just looked day before yesterday. They just sold it the beginning of January for 360, 362. I'm like, they lost money on that deal. And they did a really fine renovation too. And then I just saw one that I looked at yesterday that I remember it was for about 425. Do you know, Greg? This is further down Alabama Avenue. I just looked yesterday. It's listed at 280, 295.
Wow.
They didn't drop like 100 grand off that house or more.
Wow.
And these are renovated houses. They look totally, A plus, hitting them the max of the ARV.
Hey,
Wow.
Mike.
So what I'm saying is being caught up when they originally when they bought and their plan following the ARV at that time, things have changed some. I'm seeing stuff change, and I'm like, I can't believe it. The guys down on 8th Street, I know they lost money on that house.
Yeah, that's why you have to buy the properties right. Stick to the formula and right, because you never know what's going to happen. You could have change orders, you could have market fluctuations. You just never know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hattie.
Mike, this is Hattie. I saw that very same property. And Greg, in fact, I sent you the information. You may not have checked your, or maybe you just missed it in your text. Check your text because I saw that very same property that Mike is talking about, and I sent it to you. So, I mean, I just thought maybe you might be interested in it. But yeah, I looked at that and I was like, they lost over 100 grand on that property, and it was renovated and it looks not really nice. Yep.
Mike, is it off of Alabama Avenue or right on it?
Well, I can't remember exactly that one, but the one on 8th Street is right there, 4600 block of 8th Street.
Okay.
And they did a really great renovation of it. I was in it. I watched them do it because I was looking at one down the block, but somebody else overpaid for it, and they're still renovating it.
And so I think Mike and Hattie bring up a good point. When you're renovating properties, you don't want to over renovate. You want to, because I've made that mistake. You want to renovate according to according to the neighborhood. And I think this property, I think I know this property. I think I went into this property. I actually think this property is one of our agents' properties. Does you guys remember this property off of Alabama Avenue? Hattie, does this one have a garage that you know of? I think I know. I think I know this property.
It may, I can't remember, but it is on the MLS. I did, and I sent you the information, so just check your.
I'm looking at it now, but you just sent the MLS number. You didn't send the address. I'll look it up. I'll look it up after this meeting. But I think I know.
I want to say it's in Southeast. I want to say it's I don't remember, Greg. I'm sorry. I don't remember the address, but I think it's in Southeast.
Okay, I think I know the property. They over renovated. Very, very nice renovation, but they over renovated. They had a slab in the back for a driveway, and then they spent almost another $20,000 and put a garage back there. I'm like, you don't need a garage back here. And then the basement, I mean, they went down 2 feet in the basement where they didn't need to. Anyway, don't over renovate, you guys. I think that's the key point. But again, make sure you're renovating with someone that knows what they're doing. And these guys who, if it's the same house, they really knew what they were doing, but they primarily renovate in like Upper Northwest, Bethesda. And so they found this great deal in Southeast and they renovated like they were in Bethesda and they didn't have to. And yes, they lost a lot. If it's the same people, they lost a lot of money. But it's not to say that when you're flipping, you can make a ton of money. I mean, you really can. Flippers, I've got buddies of mine, they easily make, well, some of them make 7 figures a deal, but they easily make some well into the 7, 8 figures flipping properties. And so this is Erica. Erica's been one of our students, investors for many years. She bought this property off of an auction, She was on Hubzu. And so we buy properties off the auction. She bought this property off the auction in Baltimore, 92,000. She renovated at 70,000. She found a contractor at a real estate investment meetup. Sold it for 223. She made this was her first flip. Uh, some little mistakes, but she made $50,000. She used this $50,000 to buy a Airbnb in Orlando, Florida. And so we oftentimes try to get our newest investors to wholesale. That's a great introduction to investing. Erica said, no, I want to flip. And she found this property and she renovated it and it sold right away. And again, you guys, if she can do it, you guys, and she had a lot of help, guidance, we would go out there and help her out. But if she can do it, you guys, you can do it too. All right. We're almost out of here. We're almost done. Okay. Buy and hold, you guys. Again, as I started this off, my hope is that you buy and hold one property this year. That's my hope. My hope is that you buy and hold at least one property. That's my goal for you. And so we save the best, in my opinion, the best for last. There's pros and cons with every strategy, but I truly do like buy and holding. I've seen over the years where I've kicked myself on properties that I've wholesaled. And yes, I made money wholesaling, but I'll look at a property, especially if it's in an area like DC where it appreciates at a high rate, and I'll drive by the property. There's a property on Florida Avenue that I wholesaled and made like $30,000. It's like at Florida Avenue and New York Avenue in DC. And I wholesaled it. I must have wholesaled it for, I don't know, maybe after repair value at that time was like 400,000. That thing is worth like over $900,000 now. And so I kicked myself. I should have held on to that property. There's properties that I've flipped properties. I've flipped a property on Longfellow Street in Petworth, Decatur Street in Petworth, and those properties have doubled in value since I flipped them. And so I always say to myself, I should have held on, I should have held on, I should have held on, got the steady cash flow. And some of these properties that I wholesaled or flipped would have been paid off by now. And I would have had, well, and just on those properties that I wholesaled and flipped, I would have had well into the millions of dollars in equity. And probably on those properties, 30, 40, $50,000 a month in cash flow. And so that's why I always stress holding. I want you guys to hold. That holding properties is going to get you great cash flow where you can retire financially free. You can build a legacy for your children. You can really build generational wealth. And so buying and holding, we're purchasing properties to rent and hold for appreciation. I like using, I'm a Section 8 investor. I love Section 8, and so I rent mine out to Section 8. Generates steady rental income and builds equity over a long period of time. And so you might say, well, so what? It builds equity. We're not going to do anything with the equity, but you can. You can refinance, pull equity out, not have to pay any capital gain taxes, and do something with that equity. Buy other properties, put that money in an annuity, whatever you want to do. Ideal for long-term wealth building and passive income. And so that's what we want. We want passive income. That's the name of the game. It's passive income. We want to retire. And I would say most of you guys on here have a retirement plan. But adding one or two or three or four properties that's giving you passive income to help supplement the retirement plan that you already have, you guys are living good in retirement. And some of you guys living even better than you're doing now with this extra income. And then there's some of you guys that don't have a retirement plan, or at least a great retirement plan. Use real estate investing and buying and holding as a way to correct maybe some of the mistakes that you've made, but definitely help you with your retirement. Use the buy and hold strategy. Buy the property right, pay it down, and your tenants are going to help pay it down and then pay it off. And now, if you're getting $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month per property, that money goes to you. Now, again, I don't want you spending all that money. Save some of it, for maintenance fees and maintenance costs and things like that. But you're building, that's how you're building wealth and giving yourself cash flow for retirement. Buying and holding. Whether you're buying and holding, you're doing like I do, long-term Section 8. Some of you guys may not like Section 8 market rate tenants, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, um, student housing, whatever it is, passive income, buying and holding. That's where you make your money as a real estate investor. And so proud. We have a coaching program, and I will tell you, especially one of our accountability groups, um, like almost everybody in the group bought and held a property. Lots of people bought and held last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing that again this year, building wealth. Pros and cons, passive income is a pro, tax benefits, long-term appreciation. Long-term appreciation. Cons, property management required. Either you manage or hire a property manager, subject to economic and market changes. But generally speaking, I remember during the pandemic, Marquise's slide's getting ready to come up, but let me go to him real quick. Oh, he's at the end, actually. Anyway, Marquise. I called Marquise. How you doing? We're shut down. We're in a pandemic. Um, how are your properties in Baltimore? At that time, he had about 20 properties in Baltimore, all of them free and clear, all of them Section 8. He said, man, I'm chilling. At first of the month, Baltimore City sends me my check. I don't have nothing to worry about. And that's how you guys want it for your lives. And all he did again was take his wholesale fees, his real estate commissions, and buy properties in Baltimore. And again, if he can do it, you guys can do it too. This is Diana. She's been in our program. She's bought and held a number of different properties. She also likes, I think I found a 4-unit building in Brookland. She does condo conversions, but we found her this property. This property is actually, where's this property? In Edgewood, I think that's called, like Woodridge. This is called Woodridge. Market value now is 770. Mortgage balance is 320. She's got about $450,000 in equity, and she's making about $1,800 a month in cash flow just on this one property. She came here from China. I think she's China. Yeah, China. Joined our program and never bought a house. Now she's killing it. And again, if she can do it, you guys can do it too. The hybrid approach, I've talked a lot about that tonight. We're going to take one strategy, your buy for cash strategy, get the cash to then buy and hold. And that's the solution, you guys. That's the solution. If I was to tell you guys that buying and holding is where you need to be, you might say, well, I don't have the cash. One way to get the cash is to flip a property and then buy and hold. We do utilize a lot of creative financing strategies to finance our properties. We talk a lot about lease options subject to seller financing. And so we're looking for properties where we don't always necessarily have to go to a bank to get financing. Oftentimes, we'll use the financing that's already on the property, and would love to teach you guys that as well. And so, look, you guys, I know it's been a lot of information tonight, a lot of information coming at you at once. Did you guys have any questions? Any questions? We are having a boot camp. And so our boot camp is a 2-day boot camp. Last month we went to Baltimore, so we were out in the field. And so our boot camp is 2 days. The first day, which is Friday, January the 30th, I I teach a Zoom, it's a Zoom meeting where I take a deeper dive into a lot of the things I just talked about, but then also prepare everyone for the next day, which is a field event. And so on the 30th, which is a Saturday, we're actually going to probably look at properties in DC. It's either DC or Prince George's County, but we're finding a lot of good deals in DC. And so I would love for you guys to be a part of it. It's only $197. You can go to bennettbootcamps.com to join. It's a great way to meet other investors, get out in the field and learn different neighborhoods. We're going to go over repair costs, of course, the Mayo formula, how to analyze properties, all of those things. And then at the end on Saturday, we're going to end up in Hyattsville at Burton's. So Burton's Bar and Grill. It's actually in Riverdale Park, it's close to College Park. And so we'll have a nice lunch there. We'll debrief. We'll talk about the properties that we just looked at. But it's a great way to look at some properties, get to know some other investors. I'll probably have a lender out with us this time. So I hope you guys can join. And so Shay is asking, if you're a realtor, do you have to disclose that while wholesaling? Absolutely. And so Shay, on our contract, on our A to B contract, it's already in there. It's boilerplate in there that you're disclosing that you're a realtor. Even though most of them are off-market deals, you still have to disclose that you're a realtor. But don't worry about it. On our contracts, it's already in there. It's boilerplate in there already. So look, you guys, it's a tale of two people. We've got one person on the left that's soaring, that's taking action, that wants to take 2026 by storm, and is going to do everything that he can to be a big success. And then we've got the other person that's the couch potato, knows what he wants, does have goals, but just hasn't taken the initiative yet. And so the question is, which person are you? Are you the one on the left who's soaring, or are you the couch potato on the right-hand side? Put in the chat. Which one are you guys? Do we have any couch potatoes in here that's willing to admit it, or are you soaring? And if you are, I'd like to invite you guys out with us. I'll have some of my coaching students out. We may even look at one of their properties at the boot camp. Just go to bennettbootcamps.com. We'd love to have you out.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
Hey, Greg. Sorry to interrupt. This is Nat. Quick question. Just going back quickly to the wholesaling. You went through the various means to identify and locate wholesaling property, but what are some of the means to identify and locate cash buyers? Because that's also an important piece of that transaction.
So that's a great question. And so write these ways down. And so cash buyers, we can find cash buyers.
I'm on the Zoom meeting. What's up?
Hold on. Let me mute some people. All right, Nat. So Nat, you can meet them in forums like this, but I would say RIA meetings, meetups, auctions. We find lots of them at auctions. If you are a cash buyer, put your name in the chat. And so there's a number of different cash buyers in here. And so we meet them at auctions. You can Google cash buyers in a certain geographic location. You can go to Facebook Marketplace or Facebook and find, like today or yesterday, I searched in Facebook for real estate investment groups in Baltimore, real estate investment groups in Prince George's County. And so you can go there to find cash buyers. I use what's called Investor Lift. Investor Lift. So I use Investor Lift. That's a database full of cash buyers. So there's a number of different ways to find cash buyers. But a lot of them, there's an auction every single day. Um, Prince George's County courthouse steps. Mainly, I think on Tuesdays. If you're looking for properties in Baltimore, there's auctions in the front of courthouse steps on I think on Thursdays. Baltimore County as well. DC, it's not on the courthouse steps. It's in Upper Northwest. That's where they're auctioning it, and it's filled with cash buyers. So to find cash buyers is really not that difficult. And then you just got to get the word out that this is what you do. And if you find a good deal, the easiest thing is finding a cash buyer. I would
Okay.
focus more so on finding deals because, like I said, if you find the deal, there's somebody, even somebody in our community, whether it's me or somebody else. Did anybody put their name in the chat? Nobody put their name in the chat, but so we have a lot of people in our community that are cash buyers that depending on where the property is, they will buy that. Especially, like I said, especially if it's a great deal, or they'll know someone that will buy that deal off of you.
Okay. Because more of the work is in actually finding the property.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You've got to find the deal. If you find the deal, and if it's truly a deal, if it's truly a good deal that meets the formula, you won't have a hard time selling that deal. You will not. You won't get out of our community. I mean, you'll put that deal in our community and it'll go right away. All right,
Okay.
this
Thank
is
you.
no problem. This is Marquise. He's the one that I told you has all the properties in Baltimore. He he's been, with me for many, many years. He's actually what he actually does now is he's doing luxury. What is it called? Is Alex still on here? Luxury. What am I trying? Oh, Alex got off. Look at Alex.
Luxury co-living.
Yeah, co-living. So he's doing co-living. So he's renting rooms out. So he'll take a 3 bedroom, 1 bath row house, turn it into like a 5 bedroom, 3 or 4 bath, and rent rooms out. So that's what he's doing now. But he's got a ton of properties, you guys. And he started with the first one. He came to me, had a property. He said, "What should I do with it?" I said, "You should wholesale it." And he wholesaled the property, and he's been wholesaling ever since. That was like 10, 15 years ago. And so he's the one that takes his wholesale deals and buys properties in Baltimore. And he flips properties, but primarily buys and holds. He has some midterm rentals that he rents out to nurses. And so you guys, if Marquise can do it, and you'll meet Marquise, he'll probably be at the tour um, on the 30th. Um, if he can do it, you guys can do it too. You just got to take action. That's it. You got to take action and stop with the excuses, you guys. I'll start tomorrow. Look, it's 2026. Today's the 15th. We got to get going. I've got a goal for you guys. You guys that should have bigger goals, bigger goals. And so we've got too many excuses, no more excuses. One of the best ways to get started is to come to our boot camp. 2 days, first day's virtual, second day we're out in the field. Go to Bennett boot camps and you won't regret it. You'll be amongst other like-minded people. So get started now at our next boot camp, bennettbootcamps.com. Go there now. Any other questions, you guys? Any other questions? Was
Greg, I had a question early on.
Go ahead.
How do you find out the owners of LLCs?
So it's not SStat. Call me tomorrow. I know how to do it. I just can't think of it right now.
Will
But
do.
you want to get I forget the name of it. You want to get that person, what's it called? The resident, is it called the resident agent? I think it's called the resident agent. You want to get the resident agent, but I can show you how to do it. Actually, I just got to play with it, but we used to do it all the time.
Perfect. I look for it. Thank you.
All right, you guys, any other questions, comments, any takeaways from tonight, you guys? Any takeaways?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So when is the next boot camp?
It's the 30th. You'll get an email and maybe
No,
even
the next one, because last month I got in a truck accident, and right now I'm facing a lot of problems. No, that's why. When's the next boot camp?
so
Next one.
January's is the 29th and the 30th, and then February's will probably be the last weekend of February. But you'll get information on that.
Okay, sir. I will. Sure, I will. I will do my best to go there.
Okay.
I'm from California. Now it's been. I'm a truck driver for 5 years, and until now I'm paycheck to paycheck. Now I have zero money in my pocket, and I'm working so hard, but still paying bills.
Okay.
Very hard life.
Okay. We'd love to have you. All
Okay,
right,
sir.
you guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, you guys. And so I know that unfortunately, like I said earlier, some of you guys are living paycheck to paycheck. You're looking for a way out. My suggestion is being a part of us, being a part of a community that's going to hold your hand, it's going to help you. We start off with the boot camp. Let's get out in the field. Let's identify some properties. There'll be some real properties that you can buy. Like I said, Dana, we went on one of these. Dana actually bought one, bid on the property. It was an auction property, and he actually bought the property. But the solution to what you guys are going through financially is real estate investing and just being around the right people. And so I hope that you're able to join us on the 29th and 30th. Again, it's virtual on the first day, the 29th, out in the field on the 30th. The key to your success, you guys, is being around the right people. We're all local. We're not, we don't try to sell in other areas. We're local to the DMV area. I went to high school here, went to college here. We're local to this area, and we know the area, and we know everything about the area, the ARVs, the right areas to buy, contractors, everything. And so we've got everything you need to be successful, and we're all willing to help you guys. We're willing to help you. All you've got to do is take action. And that's what I want for you guys. I want you guys to start taking action, and it starts now. All right, you guys, that's all I have. Hopefully, you guys got a lot out of tonight. Hopefully, take at least one nugget home. And my hope and prayer is that you guys get started investing. And for some of you guys, kind of get out of that like financial rut that you find yourself in. Real estate investing is going to help you get out of it. All right, you guys, take care.
Thank you
God
so much,
bless.
sir.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much, sir.
You're welcome. God bless everybody, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
All
Good
right.
night,
Thank
everybody.
you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.